child welfare has been, you know, distorted and given such a bad rap. But we want our children and families to fare well. What can people do in the aftermath of a residential school internment experience to regain those sacred things that were taken, their language, their culture, their family, everything that's tradition and their birthright? How can different kinds of helping processes really aim to restore those things? That's what I'm interested in studying and working with people about. I think it's important to say, like, in an Indigenous worldview, we don't see children as little individuals, you know, like out in the world by themselves. We see them really connected to their mom, their dad, and their grandma, and their relatives. And so even the idea of the word child in an Indigenous framework, it means like a child surrounded by their relatives. And so we really, we fight for that, you know, in these social work and child welfare settings. That when we say it's a child-centered mandate, we want a child to be safe, but it doesn't mean we want to throw their relatives in the river and put the kid on the lifeboat and say, oh, so this child will float, and then those people are disposable. We're really trying to influence practice to work in this holistic way that uplifts mothers and uplifts families and fathers and really helps people live together in the way they want. We volunteer for the network to do this work because it is part of our activist commitment to nurture the soil, the ground, the earth, so that this research process will be easier for us in the mainstream world. So we're the ones dragging the plow here at the beginning, and thank you for your help with this heavy machinery because it's going really slowly.
So we've been talking a lot about location and place and voice and people, but very often in Aboriginal communities when Indigenous people meet each other, some of the common questions are, who's your family? What's your name? Because we recognize each other's names, families, we know the ancestries, communities. There's a real commonality there. So when we locate ourselves, we can do that with a little bit of fun and humor too. And moving into circle for our work, as we did in the morning, that's our way. Using circles are our way. They're the way that we connect. Nobody we're all on the same level when we're in the circle. We're all the same importance. We all hold the same space in our circle. And one important piece that I use in circle work is I never use numbers for circle work. When I'm dividing people up into groups, into small circle groups, I remember an elder telling me, please don't ever use numbers. Use our relatives, the animals. And that was an important lesson for me, that when we do group work and make smaller circles, we use our relatives, the animals. We don't use numbers because numbers were given to children in residential schools. I want to hear from each of you a little bit about your location. If you had to choose a song that best describes where you are at in life, what would it be?
I still haven't found what I'm looking for because we are here still looking. Whether it be our inner being, the four aspects of the medicine wheel, we continue to look, we continue to march.
And that's research as well, isn't it?
Yes.
It's exploration, it's experimentation, it's examining and looking at it, and we still haven't found what I'm looking for.
We use You Are My Sunshine. So, for the Aboriginal people, I think it's very representative because, there's been literally decades, if not centuries, of hardships that the Aboriginal community has gone through government legislation, through the residential school, and through the tearing apart of our cultures and communities and families, to the point of here we are today, research going on about Aboriginal children, and hearing their voice, which I think is very important.
I work for the guardianship program, and guardianship currently has, and we represent 310 children approximately. Those children are under a continuing custody order. I highlight that language for a reason. The language used to be years ago permanent, children become permanent board. The ministry, and Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, still treat those children under that language, and then they say, okay, off you go to adoption. VACFSS approaches that really differently, and it's one of the reasons that I've been in the program for 7 years, is because I believe continuing custody order as a language, and I believe that as a journey. So we're looking constantly and diligently and daily towards extended family, towards community, towards alternative models of care, out-of-care options. We're looking at returning to community and all of those things. Most importantly, we're looking at returning to parents and family.
So one of the things we're trying to do is have lots of integrated case management meetings where the family's going to come and all of the professionals that are involved in their life are going to come, so that everyone gets the same message at the same time. And if things are contradicting or overlapping, we deal with it right there. We leave the meeting where everyone knows what tasks they're going to do, and the family has a real idea of what they're going to get. So it's not confused across the board.
How well do you work with the ministry itself, like the social work part of the ministry? So the question I was going to ask is, when I was in that part of my journey, I was also on social assistance, and each organization had a different criteria that did not work, and therefore there was a lot of, I now have full custody, full guardianship, but that took almost 5 years to do, and they each wanted me to do something that came into conflict with the and so is there for an Aboriginal person, for an Aboriginal single father, that was crazy.
Yeah. We have a liaison now in child protection who works directly with income assistance, because the way they changed it so that you don't have a case manager now and you just call a random number, it doesn't work for us as professionals trying to call. So how is it going to work for families, right? So we have a liaison that we call so that we can get support and direct families. With the ministry, we have full child protection authority now. So we do work with the ministry, but not in terms of child protection. There's other services that we don't get and we don't have access to yet, such as youth services, child with special needs, child with mental health. So we still have contact with the ministry, but in terms of child protection, guardianship resources, and trying to put in supports for families, the ministry isn't involved with us.
I'm thinking that the government is actually transferring a lot of their own personal challenges onto the families without any resources. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in our case, there's absolutely no resources because we refuse to have her in the system, and that's fine with us. But how many other families though don't have the opportunities like us in terms of being able to care for that child and have the resources to be able to do that?
It's more of a systemic thing. There's legislation. As we know in this province, the ministry is always speaking based on what the new political regime says, right? So it's a very challenging atmosphere, and we do try, and we try and work together. And
What criteria how are they screened? I guess you could say, as compared to the average Joe walking. What if Kelly decided, well, I'm going to go and sign up. Here I am. Yeah. Now, what does he have to endure?
Yeah. That's a really valuable question. It's a process. It involves a social worker coming to your home 6 times and going through a series of questions. It involves 3 criminal record checks. From the records check, we're working with vulnerable people, and then it's called a prior contact check. So it involves going through quite an intrusive process. It involves getting a medical and 3 professional references, as in non-family references. And we can understand why Aboriginal people may be reticent to engage with a system who has no doubt historically oppressed their family. I understand that, I respect that. At the same time, I think working for VACFSS or working with foster parent at VACFSS gives us an opportunity to begin to shift and change the outcomes for our Aboriginal children. So with the 310 children that we hold at guardianship, we act as their legal guardian. And when I talk about that journey of the care I also talk about it as a journey for that child or young person. So we're walking with them in their journey through care. We're supporting them as much as possible as we make decisions with them around health and education and school. We're supporting them as much as possible to remain connected to their culture, to their place of being, and we're utmostly respectful that that is where they belong, and we know that.
If you had something to say to a social worker about what you'd like to see in them as a worker with working with you, what would that be? And I'd like to hear that from each of you.
I'd just say to that social worker that they need to be in that kid's life. They can't just be like taking calls or like talking to you maybe once every month or so. Like take the kid out to eat or something. They should know the person. Sometimes it's nice when they feel comfortable with that person. They can open up more about what's going on in their life. But sometimes kids too scared to say something, right? Especially if they're so young.
I find if you build bonds with kids, then they tend to open up more, tell you everything.
I think today went really well. It was very exceptional for me, probably because of the environment. I've never done a presentation in the Friendship Center, and I just felt really welcomed and accepted.
Well, at first I was nervous and scared, and then I didn't want to say something too fast or too slow or anything like that. But now it's like it's kind of you just grow.
Talking about things like this to people who care, like we're doing research on this, I think it's really vitally important that they hear about the youth's, like what our insight, what we see, what we feel, and it was a bit difficult to talk about. My mother's experience with residential school, but I think having that information shared with people is really important because it affects me, it hurts me to see that, but getting it out, it's no longer with me, it's out there, so it doesn't hurt me anymore. And I just hope it's preventable.
What does the word research mean to you? We put down learning, identifying, knowing, finding the answers, defining interesting facts, reading, and knowledge seeking. And how do you define culture? We put down part of you, connection, spiritual connection, relationship, ancestors, traditions, food, music, dance, powwow, holistic teaching, roots, where are you from, language, communication, values, teachings, respecting values, medicine wheel, acceptance, being not racist, of course. Clothing is costumes, appearance, symbols, attire, beads, feathers, vests, and headdress.
I wanted to join the Army first off because I wanted to fight for my country. I've had other goals in my life too, but I just want to get these ones over with first to make sure that I've got it going right and I'm on the right path. And my other goals were doing security, such as border crossing, and those kind of things.
I want to study to be an accountant, a registered accountant. I'm going to try my best to take 4 years because I have it covered. Not only the University of Victoria will give free tuition to people in care, or that are or were in care, but also UBC, Vancouver, and I think that's pretty neat. And it should be well known to all the kids that are and were in care, because that's really important.
I guess when you go in there, it's kind of scary, and you're just like, I don't know why I'm here, or like, what am I doing here, like, what's gonna happen? It's just like, I think you should just take every opportunity that you have, like, even though you're here, like, just ask questions, ask as many questions as you want. If you want to know something, ask. Don't be shy, because then you're gonna regret later saying, oh, I wish I knew this, or I wish I knew that back then. I could be doing that now. Like, just ask anything that's on your mind.
Every youth has their own journey, not always good, but not always bad. And they also need to know to embrace the youth's culture, to supply the knowledge of where they come from, and the tradition is passed down.
Keep your head up and try staying involved with your culture, because I found that it could really help you out if you're ever having a hard time and you have something to fall back onto.
Life just hands you stuff, and you just be like, either you take it or you just don't.
If you could be told one thing that you haven't already been told as a youth, what would that be? So we put down, believe in yourself, keep your head up, have a lawyer. You have a lot of support. You're never alone. UBC and you have free tuition so you can care. And you will always have a voice, so don't be afraid to use it. And there are always resources for cultural, educational, and just learning opportunities.
What person do you admire the most?
Go first.
Yeah.
I want to say my sister here.
Oh, that's really nice.
Well, my brother and I, we grew up in absolutely different worlds, just specifically by our gender.
We went through a lot. We never grew up together. We lived separate lives. We endured separate traumas, atrocities.
He was raised in a very strong, dominant mindset, and as a result of my own wounds, he was often encouraged and I would say, the lighter side of force of taking care of me. And upon the deterioration of our family, that then followed into our living onto the street, where we both, our careers were very addiction-centered. We both served beer in the downtown east side for a number of years, and we both collectively had our own placement in that community. There's a lot of pain there that a lot of people share, and we each had a place in that, and were recognized for that.
To help to keep me on the straight and narrow as a single parent is hard.
My brother David has my utmost admiration. He's stuck to his course, and I can't be more proud of what he's done, and everything that he has done shows in his daughter, who is a remarkable young person.
When things don't feel real, I get bored. And I really engage and appreciate people when they share with the depth of emotion and truth that people have been sharing with today. I really appreciate that.
When I graduated, I went searching for my relatives, literally, and going down Hastings, do you know this girl? Do you know her? And then it was amazing when I found one of my sisters that I used to live with. And she had seen me first, and she called my name out. And it was like, reunited. It was beautiful. And then we all got together. But unity. And that's what I see in those youth.
What stands out for me most in this workshop is the collectivity and the single focus that the participants have in reconciling the issues that Aboriginal or First Nations people, Indigenous people face today.
That's a lot of transferable stuff that you can do with that type of forward thinking in a lot of other disciplines. So really excited to have learned that. Also the individuals here, I got to spend some time with the Research Network facilitators yesterday night. Amazing. So thank you for that.
the brown rifle.